particularly sensitive. So that would be another step forward, promote information sharing. Support voluntary actions to support nuclear security. I mean, some of this is going on through the commitments that countries are making, but not nearly enough. And the whole point is to try and take some voluntary steps in the short term that can turn into standards that can then be hardened and codified over the long term. 4, use peer review and what we're calling culturally sensitive best practices. Peer review, there are 2 different kinds of peer review. The peer review which is done in nuclear security is between a country and the International Atomic Energy Agency, and for the most part it's kept secret between the International Atomic Energy Agency and the country at the country's request. If they want to reveal it, as the Netherlands have, they can. But if they don't want to, they don't have to. So the other kind of peer review is the kind of peer review which is done in nuclear safety, which I think is actually a more effective model. Because in nuclear safety, you are required by the Convention on Nuclear Safety to provide information about your safety practices to your colleagues, who then review them and give feedback on them. So it's a different kind of a peer review. Culturally sensitive best practices just means there are best practices that should be implemented, but not everybody needs to do everything exactly the same way. So for example, in a number of Asian countries, they don't use guns to protect their nuclear facilities. If you look at virtually any video from the Department of Energy, all you see is guns. So there's a big difference between the way it's done. But the point that we want to emphasize here is that we want best practices for security. And finally, we'd like to see the summiteers endorse a nuclear security framework convention. The problem we have at the moment is that we have a patchwork of recommendations and legal requirements that you can take or you can leave as a country.